Welcome back to the cryptoworld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, Bitcoin is still trading within the much larger bullish trend, but in the shorter term, both Bitcoin and Ethereum are currently resetting from overbought territories, which I'll talk about later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, just giving you a really quick update here on the 4-day Bitcoin chart. And right now, as of recording this video, the price of Bitcoin is still trading above this important line right here, which is sitting at around $25,000. And in case you're new to this channel, this line is basically the invalidation line for the much larger bullish trend based on the super trend indicator on the 4-day Bitcoin chart. Because essentially, if we end up seeing a confirmed break back below that line, so back below around 25K, with at least a 4-day candle close, but ideally weekly candle closes back below 25K, then in that case, that would basically confirm a reversal signal from green back to red in this super trend indicator. And of course, if we end up confirming a break below 25K, that would also confirm a significant lower low on the larger timeframes, which would be another trend reversal signal pointing towards more bearish price structure forming on the larger timeframes. But obviously, as of right now, we have not yet seen that because once again, the price of Bitcoin, at least for now, is still holding above that important level at around 25K. And so once again, like I've been saying, basically every day since the very beginning of this year, well below 20K, the price of Bitcoin is still technically within a much larger bullish trend if you're looking at the larger timeframes here. But obviously on slightly smaller timeframes, we are currently within a bit more of a short-term bearish trend, like I've been saying over the last few weeks, nearly over the last 1 month or so. And this shorter term bearish price action that we've seen over the last 1 month is the result of this bearish divergence on the 4-day chart and also the bearish divergence here on the daily time frame, which once again I've been talking about since all the way back up here. And technically speaking, this bearish divergence on the daily chart remains active while the RSI is still forming lower highs and lower lows. And also, in order to actually invalidate this previous bearish divergence on the daily time frame, we ideally need to see a breakout in the RSI above this descending line of resistance, also in the process potentially forming new higher highs in the RSI. Because basically, if that happens, that would be a sign of strength for the price of Bitcoin. But once again, as of right now, that has not yet happened, which means at least for now, the short-term trend that we've seen over the last 1 month is still currently more bearish than bullish. But once again, just like what we saw back here or back here, we can indeed see short-term bearish trends within a much larger bullish trend for as long as this bullish trend remains active, with once again the price remaining above 25K. But just heading back to that daily Bitcoin chart, looking at the daily Bitcoin price oscillators, and as I've said over the last few days, obviously we have seen a recent bullish cross here in the daily Bitcoin MACD. And once again, what this means is that we are beginning to see some more bullish momentum finally return on the daily time frame that we have not really seen for at least over a month. But once again, in order to become more confident that we're actually reversing this short-term bearish trend into more of a short-term bullish trend, not just a pump to the upside, then we need to see other bullish confirmation signals like more of a reversal in the RSI invalidating this bearish divergence, which as of right now has not yet happened. And now if you're zooming into the much shorter term, looking at the 6-hour Bitcoin chart, technically speaking, this short-term bullish divergence is currently active while the 6-hour Ethereum RSI is trending to the upside, forming higher lows and higher highs. But obviously, just recently, over the last 1 to 2 days or so, we have seen the 6-hour Bitcoin RSI and also the RSI on smaller timeframes enter into overbought territories, which once again, as I've mentioned in recent videos here on the channel, this means that the price went too far to the upside too quickly just in the short term, and we need some time to reset the RSI back from those overbought territories. And usually when we see a reset back to the downside in the RSI, that plays out in the form of either choppy sideways price action, if not a slight pullback in the short term for the price of Bitcoin. Basically the exact opposite as to when the RSI enters into oversold territories, meaning the price went too far to the downside too quickly in the short term, and we need some time to reset back to the upside. Once again, it plays out in the form of either choppy sideways price action, if not a slight bullish relief. And so just in the imminent short term, talking about the coming hours, possibly possibly over the next 1 day or so. That's essentially the situation right now. We're still currently seeing a bit of a cool off or reset in this RSI and the price action. But very soon, if this reset continues over the next 1 to 2 days, then it's likely the RSI will run into this ascending line of support. And obviously, if we end up seeing another bounce in the RSI from that line of support, then it's possible we could potentially slow down this immediate bearish price action right here and perhaps return to price action like what we saw back here when the RSI was still holding above this ascending line of support. But remember, as of right now, this is currently occurring within more of a short-term bearish trend, and this short-term bearish trend is still currently occurring within a much larger multi-month long bullish trend that we have seen all year long. And as for the Bitcoin order books, looking at support and resistance, right now we have a lot of buy orders sitting at around 26.6k to around 26.8k. So basically in that price area just there, we should expect a bit of short-term support. And as for resistance, looking at the sell orders, we have a lot of sell orders sitting at around 27.6k to around 27.8k. And so once again, in that price range right there, we should expect a bit of short-term resistance for the price of Bitcoin. And in case you missed my last video on the channel, we are about to head into September, which is historically one of the most bearish months for Bitcoin, because for the last 6 years in a row, September has always been a bearish month. And in fact, out of the last 10 years, out of the last 10 Septembers, we've only had 2 bullish Septembers and 8 bearish Septembers over the last 10 years. And in fact, the only bullish Septembers that we've had over the last 10 years was back during around 2015 and 2016. And those bullish Septembers, we only saw a 2% gain in one of those months and a 6% gain in the other month. And so once again, historically speaking, September is one of the most bearish months for Bitcoin. But if you're looking at October, that is one of the most bullish months for Bitcoin, because unlike September, where over the last 10 years, we've seen 8 bearish Septembers, if you're looking at October, over the last 10 years, we've seen 8 bullish Octobers and only 2 bearish Octobers over the last 10 years. And so essentially, October is pretty much the opposite to September. And so what does this actually mean? And well, obviously, past performance does not guarantee anything in the future, but what it does mean is that if we're going to have a bearish or bullish month, it's likely that September could be a bearish month and perhaps October could be a bullish month based on history. And so essentially, we could see some decent buying opportunities during September, and usually those who buy during September are rewarded later in the year around October, November, December, because historically those are much more bullish months, once again, just based on history. And if you want to know more about this, then check out my last video on the channel. But first, getting into the Ethereum part of this video, this is on the daily ETH to US dollar chart. And right now, the price of ETH is retesting this important area of support, sitting in between around 1640 to 1.7k. And as for the daily Ethereum price oscillators, right now, the daily Ethereum MACD is still technically looking more bullish than bearish, because we have recently seen a bullish cross. And so once again, as I've said over the last few days, this basically means we are beginning to see a little bit more bullish momentum return here on the daily time frame. But this bullish momentum beginning to return does not necessarily guarantee that we have now reversed from a short-term bearish trend into a short-term bullish trend, because in order to establish more of a short-term bullish trend, we need to see higher highs, higher lows in the price and the RSI. And obviously, as of right now, we have not yet seen a breakout in the RSI above this previous high. And so essentially right now, we're just waiting for more confirmation in order to actually confirm a bullish trend reversal in the short term. So at least for now, we're technically still more bearish than bullish in terms of the trend. It's just we're potentially seeing a little bit more bullish momentum show up based on the MACD. And as for support and resistance, once again, we have that area of support that I just mentioned. And as for resistance, we have this area of previous support now acting as new resistance, sitting in between around 1770 to 1820. And in fact, if you look at the Fibonacci retracement tool, we have the 38.2% Fibonacci level of support still sitting at around 1640. So once again, that is the important support to pay attention to on the daily time frame. But if we see a confirmed break well below 1640, then in that case, we have the 50% retracement level, which is sitting at around 1510 to 1520. And as for resistance, based on these Fibonacci levels, we have this previous 23.6% Fibonacci level of support, which should now act as new resistance, sitting at around 1820. And if you're zooming into the much shorter term, looking at the 6-hour time frame, technically speaking, this short-term bullish divergence is still currently active, because at least as of right now, the 6-hour Ethereum RSI is still holding above this ascending line of support and is also forming higher lows and higher highs. And so once again, what this means is essentially right now, just in the imminent short term, we are seeing a bit of a pause or a bit of a relief from that bearish trend here on the daily time frame. But obviously, just in the imminent short term, as I've said over the last couple of days, the 6-hour Ethereum RSI and the RSI on smaller time frames entered into overbought territories, which once again means the price went too far to the upside too quickly with that short-term pump, and we need some time to reset the RSI, which is basically cooling off the price from overheated territories. And typically when this happens in the RSI, we're due to see either some choppy sideways price action, if not a slight pullback in the short term, which is basically what we are currently seeing. And so if you're talking about the imminent short term over the next few hours, possibly over the next one day, this is still the type of price action that I continue to expect in order to reset this RSI. But once again, like I said for Bitcoin earlier in the video, eventually this RSI will run into this ascending line of support, which will be another important test in the short term, because obviously if the RSI bounces from that line of support again, then it's possible we could resume this pause from the bearish trend or relief from the bearish trend. But obviously if this short-term cool-off actually continues a little further, which drags down the RSI below this ascending line of support, forming new lower lows and lower highs, then obviously that would be a signal pointing towards the invalidation of this bullish divergence in the short term, which would basically point towards the resumption of this short-term bearish trend. But either way, if you want to know how to make a lot of money in crypto, no matter if the price is going to the upside, to the downside, or simply chopping around sideways in the short term, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how to make money if the price is bullish or bearish using AI, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that's everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.